Hello, this is Bethany Daly with Get Knit Paint, an authentic knitting board, bringing you the newest edition of our Stitchology series where we share with you wonderful new stitches you can create on your knitting looms. Make sure to check the info section right below this video for the link to the full post at the KB blog, which contains written instructions and charts to help you along with your new stitch. So let's get started. So this time we are going to share with you the diagonal cross stitch. And look at how gorgeous that is. It is just lovely, and it's a very plush fabric, so it can be used for many different applications that you would like to have it be extra warm and squishy and comfy, and it lays nice and flat for the most part when you're knitting it. And the other thing is that it's fully reversible. This is what the back looks like. It's completely different from the front, but just as gorgeous. So really, this is a fabulous stitch that we can create on our looms. So let's get started. All right, now this is the chart for this stitch, and it's showing here. Let me just run through a few things about this stitch. First of all, like our stitch last month, we have a border around these stitches, which means that these here are your repeating pattern stitches. And those are the ones that if you're going to repeat the stitch more than once, you will repeat these 4 rows and these 4 stitches over and over again until you get to your last repeat. That is where these last 2 rows, the columns 5 and 6, will come in. You'll just add 2 extra stitches when you cast on after your number of repeats with a count of 4. Then you just add another 2 so that you can finish off your repeating stitch and make it a whole pattern. And these stitches that are down here, these are setup rows to also make it a whole pattern. It just requires a couple rows to set up, but you don't repeat these rows after you've done them just once. So we're going to start with the 2 setup rows and then get into our repeating pattern rows. And so we start at row 1, which is from right to left, or if you're going in the round, it's going to be a clockwise direction. So it starts knit, purl, the circles are purls, knit, purl, knit, purl. Okay, so let's do row 1. And I have cast on, there's, as I mentioned before, there's 6 pattern stitches. So those are actually between these right here, and then I've cast on an extra 2 stitches at the outside of each side that are just filler stitches. So those are just going to be knits. So those are just our extra stitches. Okay, so and our knits are U stitches. So extra stitch and then a U stitch. And my yellow stitches here, or my yellow markers, those just mean that I'm going to purl, because in this pattern, the purls are always going to be on the same pegs. So I just marked those to help me keep track, especially if I was doing a lot of repeats. Purl, and our final extra stitch, which is just a knit. Okay, then we're going to come back on row 2, which is, if we were reading it from as in the round, we'd start here and read again in a clockwise direction, or from right to left. but as we're doing a panel knit here, we'll start over here on the left and work our way to the right. And this reads purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. So let's do that. First our extra stitch, which is a knit, and then remember our purls are always going to be on top of each other, so that's where those markers come in really handy. We know that, well, for me, I've marked the purl stitches, so all the yellow markers are purls. And a knit and our extra knit. Okay, I'm going to just loosen those up just a little bit. Okay, good. Then we get to row 3. And this is where our repeating pattern row is going to start. So this symbol, an open circle like this, is usually means a yarn over. And in this case, it has a 3 inside. So there's this particular technique that this is going to require, but it's worked over 3 pegs, including the one that the symbol is on. So this one is going to be a knit, purl, knit, and then we'll do the yarn over all 3 of these stitches that we will have worked. So let's do that technique first, and then we'll finish the row after that. So first, here's our extra stitch, and then remember peg 1 is our yarn over 3 peg. So we need to first create a yarn over a loop that's going to be able to create a yarn over all 3 of these stitches here. So in order to do that, I'm going to act as if I'm going to purl peg 1. And then the new loop, I'm going to take it behind the peg right adjacent to it to the right and place it temporarily on this peg that's 2 to the right. See that? How it just goes behind and then loops on top. And then I'm just going to snug that in, not too tightly, just enough to take the slack out. And now pretend that I have not even worked this peg yet. So remember, it's going to be knit, purl, and knit. So let's do that. The first one's a little tricky because it's a little tighter. There we go, knit, purl, and knit. Okay, now we're going to use a cable needle to remove these 3 loops temporarily from the loom so that we can work our yarn over. And they're just going to go on in order like that. And then I'm going to shift the yarn or the cable needle over like this and take my loop that I created with that yarn over technique and put it on the end of the cable needle like that. Now we shift this all the way so that our 3 stitches are at the top of the needle. Take a little slack out here. And then I'm going to carefully lift this yarn over loop over top of the 3 stitches and the top of the cable needle. See that? So it just went from over here all the way over and off the needle. And now it's surrounding these 3 stitches. Okay, so then I'm going to just, in order, replace these 3 stitches back onto the loom. There we go. And the last one, they just go on in the order that we took them off. There we go. And then you can take any slack out that you may need, like this. And that creates our yarn over 3. And then we will proceed with the rest of the row. So yarn over 3, 1, 2, 3, and then it's purl, knit, purl. So we will do those to finish the row. Purl, knit, purl, and our extra peg that is knit. Okay, there we go. So row 3 is now complete. All right, so we are ready to now do row 4, which is also part of our repeating pattern rows. Because I am only doing 1 repeat, I didn't explain this before, but since I'm only doing 1 repeat, I have added in these +2 stitches right away because you need it to complete the whole pattern. If I was doing more than 1 repeating pattern, let me just show you a little bit of this chart. See how the repeating pattern rows, they just run right into each other all the way across the row, and then here is where the extra stitches have been added at the end. So it completes that repeat, just to give you an idea of how that works together. So row 4, again, I'm panel knitting, so I'm starting from the left to the right, but if you were working in the round, you'd start every row going in a clockwise direction, and you'd read the chart from right to left. Since we're going from left to right, it starts with a purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. So really it's a repeat of row 2. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we start with the extra stitch, and then we have purl, knit, purl, knit, just like our markers say on the loom, purl, knit, and then our extra U-stitch, knit, peg. Okay, so row 4 is complete. Then we are ready to complete row 5. So it starts with a knit, purl, and then we will do our yarn over 3. So this will involve stitch 3, 4, and 5. So it extends. This is why we need these extra 2 pegs. If we were going to just repeat these repeating stitches again, see how, if you can imagine this box duplicated and put right here next to it, it would start out right away. You'd do your yarn over 3 over knit, purl, and then it would be over this stitch, which would be right here, and then it'd go purl, yarn over 3, and so on and so on, and just keep repeating these, and then end with these. So, and it all works out, and that's why we need these extra 2 stitches, because this yarn over 3 needs to extend out into there to end the pattern. Okay, so we'll go knit, purl, and then yarn over 3, and then end with a purl. So let's do that row. Okay, so we have our extra peg first, and then knit, purl, knit, purl, and then here is where we work our yarn over 3. So we're going to go as if we're going to purl, and this is on peg 3. So just reach down and pull that new loop up without lifting the old loop off. Bring the new loop behind peg 2 and place it temporarily on peg 1 of the pattern. And then just pull out any slack. And then we will knit peg 3. Carefully, so we don't lose that previous stitch. It's a little tricky. There we go. There, we got it. So knit, purl, and another knit. Okay, then we bring out our cable needle. Okay, and we're going to place the loops from 3, 4, and 5 onto our cable needle in order. Like that, just to hold them. And then slip the cable needle around. Place that new loop we created for the yarn over on the other end of the cable needle and bring it back around so the 3 held stitches are at the top. Now you're going to bring this yarn over peg or yarn over loop that's here on the right and carefully slip it up. I'm going to tighten this a little bit. Slip it up over those 3 stitches and off the top of the cable needle, just like that. So it creates our yarn over all 3 of these stitches. And then those stitches are then just placed right back where they came from on the pegs, 3, 4, and 5. There we go. And those can be snugged in if needed, which they generally do after shifting around a little bit. And then we purl peg 6, and then we have our extra peg here, and that completes row 5. Then row 6 is a purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. So we're going to do our extra stitch and then purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, and our extra stitch here at the end. Okay, and that is it. That is how to complete the 6 rows of the diagonal cross stitch. See, it goes like this on our looms. Isn't that beautiful? I'm so excited about this stitch because it's just so lovely, and I can't wait to see what you create on your knitting looms using this brand new stitch. Well, thanks for joining us today, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you a new stitch for next month. So we'll see you soon.